DSA ads on Google Ads are not right for most advertisers, and I'm going to tell you why on this video, okay? DSA ads can make a shitload of money if you're in the right market, in the right situations, and like a lot of, basically 90+% of other markets, it's not going to make you a ton of money and do the opposite, lose you a whole shitload of money. So I'm going to go over kind of which markets where DSA can work and basically in what markets where you kind of want to stay away from it from. A lot of that has to do with your selling products or services, generating leads or doing online cart sales. All of that contributes to whether or not you want to use DSA campaigns for your business, as opposed to just setting up manual search campaigns for your business, which are a lot easier to run tighter and get a return quicker, but may not have as much long-term potential. But you can't afford to lose, tens of thousands of dollars in money where Google's trying out DSA campaigns to figure out the right settings for you, and you run out of money before you ever get there to where you're profitable and can enjoy the fruits from what DSA can provide for your business. So anyway, I'm going to cover all that on today's video. Dynamic search ads are sure easy to use, which is obviously the reason why we all want to set them up and probably why you're considering it right now and found this video. And I stopped you in your tracks as to wanting to do it because, they're not right for every person out there. But do these actually work? And like I said at the start of the video, they can work. Respectively, for those generating leads, i.e. you're doing a two-step sale. You're trying to generate a call or a form fill, take that call or form fill, turn it into a sale, versus everything else, which I classify as e-commerce, where you're doing shopping, you're trying to get an order through a shopping cart. You may actually do a combination of shopping cart and phone orders, but respectively, where we're talking about most of the orders going through the shopping cart, or more than half. Non-shopping cart people that are trying to generate the leads to do the two-step sale, like I said, 99% of the time, these DSA, which is short for dynamic search ads, are not right for you because the leads that you're going to generate from DSA campaigns are going to not be relevant to what you're trying to do. Ultimately your lead quality turns to crap using a DSA campaign, or if you're just trying Google Ads out for the first time, it may leave you with a bitter taste in your mouth saying, oh, Google Ads doesn't work, when really it can work if you just use the static standard Google search campaigns where you have to pick your keywords yourself. And of course, come up with your ad copy yourself. And so with that said, the reason for that actually is simple. When Google's algorithm has to do anything, the more work you do for yourself, generally speaking, the quicker you're going to make money because there's less of a learning process Google has to go through to find the right settings for your ads, the right people that should see your ads. And the more of the right people that see your ads versus the wrong people that will never buy, the more efficient your ads will be, the higher the ROI will be. And anymore, it doesn't matter what kind of campaign you set up, unless you're doing straight manual CPC bidding on Google Ads. Google's going to have, and this includes enhanced CPC bidding even, Google's going to have some machine learning involved in the process. In other words, trial and error. They're going to try this, they're going to try this, they're going to try, even if you think you're advertising on the keyword red shoes, within the people who search for red shoes, Google breaks that down into hundreds of subunits to people that search for red shoes. Is this the first time they're searching? Did they search for it before? Did they go to other people's sites that search for red shoes? Did they search for stuff about dresses at the same time or about the same time? And so they profile people as to when you're running a keyword ad or running a search ad and advertising on red shoes, they're trying to figure out, of the people that in total that search for red shoes, which ones should see your ad versus somebody else's ad, because they're testing both your ad and your competition's ad to see who's going to have on average for that type of person within the people who search for red shoes, most gets what they want the fastest, because that's what Google wants to try to do, to get the click-through rate on ads up higher so they make more money, and it also gets people to want to click on ads in the future because they had to go through less BS to get what they wanted, versus wanting to click on organic or just, even worse, go someplace else for their information. So they're going to test everything all the time, generally speaking, except for manual CPC, which is the exception. And when you're talking about testing a bunch of stuff, when you're trying to generate leads, it's easy for the algorithm to get confused when you say, Google, get me as many leads as you can, because they don't understand as well a good lead from a bad lead, or let's just say at all. If somebody's calling because they accidentally thought they were calling your competitor, Google would think that was a good lead. So what do? Right away, they try to get you more of those wrong leads. And then it's a self-perpetuating feedback loop, which can drive your ROI of your campaign right down the shitter, and all of your money down along with it. So respectively, if you're running a dynamic search ad campaign, this takes things to a whole new level. If you're trying to generate leads for a law firm, for instance, family law firm, you're doing helping people with divorces and stuff like that, they may be looking for what is the child support amount for, and then drawing from this is an actual experience here, what is the child support amount that I need to pay in Illinois? And that person was not going to hire a lawyer. Obviously there's a chance, but very low likelihood that the person's going to hire a lawyer in the near future. And they definitely weren't searching for that, which is the main point. And Google tried this once, it worked. Then they started trying it more and more, and then pretty soon, almost all the budget was going to this activity where there's basically no ads there, so therefore your ad's going to stand out as a lot more clickable. And in general, if you're thinking people are going to read the ad before they click on it, that's never going to happen. A lot of people do read the ad, but enough people don't read the ad before they click, and if they search for instance, what is the child support amount I have to pay in Illinois, they're going to click on the first thing that they see because they're going to think that Google is going to do the work for them. They don't have to think or read. They click through. They realize, respectively, that they're at the wrong place and they leave. Or a lot of people will just basically think that you can tell them that, and they'll fill out the form or call. Why people do this, I don't know. But it happens. It happens a lot more when somebody's searching for who they think they're searching for their competitor. So they have your ad show up for the competitor because it gets a lot of people to click through and call. Whereas when they call, they're like, oh, this isn't, XYZ company. Okay, sorry, bye. And then Google just keeps sending you more and more of those people. So with dynamic search campaigns, there's a lot of testing going on. They're testing the ad, they're testing the placements. The algorithm only knows so far about what you're trying to get by just reading the context of your webpage, which is how the campaigns run. They try to generate an ad and placement based upon what your landing page is offering and so-called what it means, and it gets it wrong a lot. And even if it thinks it gets it right, it's going to try a bunch of stuff they're making a mistake. And when they make a mistake and they get positive feedback, i.e. you're doing lead tracking and it shows it's gotten a lead from there, it's going to get you more of the bad quality leads. And at the same time, even if it gets you a relevant lead, it's going to get you more of the shittiest leads because when you are trying to do those campaigns, you're trying to get more leads for the same cost. And usually the worst leads are the cheapest because your competition bids up all the keyword searches that are the best, that provide the best leads. And where there's less competition, other people that you're competing against who are also advertising know that other leads, such as when people use the word cheap or low cost or even free, they stay away from those keywords. DSA, your DSA campaign sets you up for that, with somebody searching for a free divorce lawyer finds out they call at a high rate, and then pretty soon half your budget's going to anything with the word free in it because it realizes, hey, if we put free in here in the ad and we put, we're showing up for anything with free in it that related to divorce, they're getting great results. Let's just do more and more and more of this. And so ultimately, if they don't even get you, they probably will get you a bunch of leads that have nothing to do with your business through the DSA campaigns. unmetered or unfiltered, and there's ways to even fix this, of course, which is to set up what is called offline conversion tracking, but respectively, a lot of crappy leads that have nothing to do with your business that are just not leads. And even if the leads you get, they're going to be the lower quality type because it's going to be trying to get you as many of the leads as they can for the money, whereas the good quality leads only come from certain keywords. People typing in, like best divorce attorney, where they're looking for quality, and therefore also probably have they definitely have a higher likelihood of actually going to purchase versus trying to figure out how much it costs, realize they can't afford it, and then they're never going to be hire a lawyer at all. I.e., if they're looking for a cheap divorce attorney, they may not even know that what it costs. They call. The likelihood that that person is going to turn into business is less, but therefore people stay away from it. Therefore it's cheaper. Therefore Google's algorithm will try to find you more of it. So anyway, this is kind of how the system works and why you don't want to use DSA campaigns for lead generation campaigns in general, because the algorithm is really poor at finding good quality leads. If you do use offline conversion tracking, which is a way to feed back data to Google about which leads were qualified or which leads turned into a sale, then you're talking about something else here. You can actually then say, Google, get me as many leads as you can, but only these qualified leads that I've marked specifically as they were qualified when they called in. Then your algorithm, and it can look for and get you as any kind of, so-called lead, or look at any goal that you want. So you could set up a goal for, did they call or not? And you could set up a goal for, where the threshold was met, that the lead was so-called qualified. And then your campaign can just go for the qualified leads and you'll get a better result, respectively with that. And it's even better, of course, if you go ahead and you feed back data that says, who actually put down a deposit, and they'll get you even better results. But in general, even if you do this with lead generation campaigns, it's really hard most of the time for their algorithm to figure out how to set you up the perfect campaign without wasting a whole shit ton of money up front. So in other words, it's easier to set up a search campaign for something like that, where you just go after the terms is obvious, and you can come up as a human versus a computer who doesn't understand context of certain things, and go after like divorce attorney firms, divorce attorneys Dallas, divorce attorneys near me. Those ones that pretty much, if they're searching for these, they only want one thing. They're trying to hire somebody like us. You just go after those. You'll probably get your campaign to be profitable right away at that point. There's no so-called trial and error and all this experimenting that the DSA campaign is going to do, which you sacrificed a whole shitload of money just so you could save a little bit of time setting up your campaign with the few keywords that if they're searching for those, that they will want what you offer. And it's a side tip to all that. If you want to make money the quickest, you do what I just mentioned you do with the few keywords you have. You don't go after divorce attorney, because if they're typing in divorce attorney, we don't know if they're looking for information, what is a divorce attorney, or if they're trying to hire one. But if you type in divorce attorney near me, we now know with like 98% confidence, those people who search for that are looking for a divorce attorney. Therefore, if we get that person to click on our ad, even if they didn't read our ad and they just called, we would be okay. And that's basically what you want generally starting out when you want to get the ball rolling. After you do that, you can go after divorce attorney, women's divorce attorney, that kind of stuff as a second tier of what you're doing, just as a side tip. But anyway, so for lead generation campaigns, though, in general, I just recommend you stay away from them for the most part. Or at least do the search campaigns the right way. Do pretty much what I just mentioned to you. If you want to experiment with DSA after that, go ahead. There's nothing against testing anything. I don't claim to have the answer that works for every possible situation. But what I do give you on this channel is the stuff that generally works. You start there, and then you can try the wild stuff, taking a sliver of the profit you're making from the stuff that's already running. And I always do this for every one of our clients that we're managing. 10% of the budget goes to new stuff that either we don't know it's going to work, or it's not going to work until we've ran that thing for like 6 months and made adjustments to it. Display campaigns are like that and so forth. And so, and in fact, you should always have 10% of your account or maybe 20% of your account that's just going to new stuff that you know that's not going to work for a while, but you're going to really look at the data coming in. You're going to make adjustments to it. You're going to take out certain keywords or certain demographics or certain income levels. And you're going to get to the point where it wasn't profitable today, but 6 months from now, after enough adjustments, it is profitable. Now we got another profit base. Now we could try something else new, take the profit from that one, invest it into another traffic stream that can work for us once it's up and going and has enough revisions, and get that working. And then you just stack up your gains by having more and more traffic sources running for your business like that. That's how you build up a campaign from a little bit of money to millions and millions a year in sales, one step at a time. Back to the topic here though, for some e-commerce companies, we're not talking about lead generation campaigns anymore, but e-commerce companies selling through a shopping cart, DSA campaigns can work really, really well if you're in certain markets. The difference is the goal Google's machine learning algo has to learn from is a lot more accurate, and that goes into what I talked about if you are going to do DSA, it does work a heck of a lot better if you're feeding in offline data to Google about which of your calls or which of your form fills actually turned into a qualified lead at the very least, or a sale if you can do it through the offline conversion tracking process, which I have a good video on this channel. Just search for offline conversion tracking that talks more about that. But with e-commerce, of course, Google has immediate feedback about what they gave you. Did it turn into a sale or not? So there's no bad sale either, because you have, there's sales that have a lot of revenue and smaller revenue for the, obviously, but they also get the revenue of how much they spent, so they know the ROI of what that is, and you can set a target ROAS. I need to have at least 800% ratio from the revenue to ad spend, and they can get you stuff, and it's really, really clear from them. They know if they effed up or not on their end, delivering the traffic that they were delivering to you or not. And there are also some other side things to that. A lot of people think that your campaigns need to be able to deliver a return right away. And a lot of times it's in most competitive markets where there's repeat customers. You're not getting your profit until you've sold to that person several times, because your competition can do it. And if you're thinking that you're going to sell to one person one time and make your money back on what all your expenses were plus the ad spend, you're mistaken. You got to get the customer at a loss, at least up front, knowing that they'll probably make 4 more purchases in the future because that's your average. And then when you factor those purchases, you can actually run at a 50% ROI on your initial purchase and still come out okay, as long as you're looking at things, what that person's on average is going to do over the next 24 to 48 months. In a lot of markets, you have to do that in order to be competitive. Any market where you could put $1 in and get $10 back, like within immediately, it's either super, super saturated, or it doesn't work anymore, because everybody wants that. Nobody wants to invest money and then and have to actually deliver a good service or product to that person for a while, and then eventually get your money back a year later through all the repeat and recurring revenue you got from that person. But a lot of times that's what it takes. So, but in any case, if you were in that situation, you would just figure out, okay, I know 3/4 of my revenue per customer comes after the initial purchase. So therefore, as long as I can get that 50% ROI on the initial purchase, I'll tell Google I want a 50% ROI, and then you're good. Most people can't wrap their brain around that scenario that I just gave you, and you'll be the one in your market that can do it, and therefore you'll get Google Ads to work and scale up to millions of dollars of actual profit per year, and they won't. So it's that simple. So they don't screw up as much because they have quality data that says exactly what your profit was, assuming that you weren't using offline conversion tracking and all that good stuff. And even if you were doing offline conversion tracking, the instant feedback of knowing if that person, 80% of people who come to your site won't purchase right away. They'll purchase in the next few days. But realistically, they have a lot of data that's coming back really, really quick. Did what we gave you work or not? And to what degree did it work? And they can guide you with your campaign setting up the ads and the targeting and get your results quicker and just in general better. One example campaign we had where DSA campaigns really did work great, and specifically better than search ads, was in the commercial lighting space. We're talking about we're in a market where they were selling shop lighting or those fluorescent T5 bulbs, which you basically see in most schools, grocery stores and stuff, the lighting that they have. And they sell the replacement bulbs, the whole lighting systems, a lot of that kind of stuff. And so why did this happen? Why did the DSA campaign work better than the standard search campaigns in this market? Because there were simply too many products for one in that market in order to set up really good static search campaigns for every product, which you absolutely want to be doing. You don't want to set up a search campaign for warehouse lighting because that term is so general. It goes back to what I said before. And if I wasn't clear before, your job as a PPC advertiser is to find out where's an audience of people I can target that has such a high percentage of buyers within it that I have to make money. In that the more people that are not buyers in your target market that you're advertising to, the less profitable your campaign will be, given it costs money to go after the people who don't, of course, see it and don't buy, specifically because click-through rate on ads is linked to your cost per click. If people, even though you're paying per click, your cost per click goes up, the more people that saw that ad and didn't want what you had. So if you have 1,000+ items to sell and they're all fairly different, and you take my advice and you go ahead and you set up a campaign for fluorescent T5 bulbs, which even there's different types of fluorescent T5 bulbs, you're going to have to set up a whole shitload of campaigns, right? And so it may take you so long that you may actually think, okay, DSA might actually be the rational thing to do here. I personally, if I had 1,000 items, I would try to set up the search campaigns using some data entry people, explain in a short video what needs to be done, and then just stamp out the same procedure for every product. But you have 10,000 products, that's the line where you can't do it anymore, basically. So DSA can come in handy there. But in this particular market, and in a lot of markets, there's too many different searches for the products that you can't cover all the keywords. What I mean by that is we're talking about long tail searches. How to replace a fluorescent light bulb. A lot of people who search for that end up going to buy, but a lot of people won't. Google can actually use through their system and the data they get from your competitor's already been advertising for a long, long time. When somebody searches for something like that, they have a high likelihood of buying. And going back to what I said before, they actually want to promote the person who's going to have the highest click-through rate, but also the highest conversion rate from click to sale, because that gives their users a better experience and therefore likely to click on ads in the future more, and therefore will make more money for Google in the long term. And so they know from their competitors' things, when somebody searches for how to replace a T5 light bulb, if they search for that and they've made at least 2 other searches related to the topic in the last, let's say, hour, that exact person, or people like that, I should say, they are, 50% likely to buy a T5 light bulb within the next 7 days. So they've been giving all that exact profile of person to your competitor for a long, long time, but they want to see if they can get a higher click-through rate from the person that clicks on the ad. And therefore, any newcomers that come to advertise, like you're coming in new, they'll run your ad in that exact scenario for that exact type of person and see if your ad gets clicked through at a higher rate than theirs. If it does, it means the user gets a better experience. Like I said, it means also Google makes more money, short term and long term. So then all of a sudden, they see your ad gets a higher click-through rate. They'll start promoting your stuff more, and respectively, that's it. Respectively, that ad, that's a dynamic ad. They should be able to have this, whatever they worked for that competitor over there, they should be able to do on yours, but that's not necessarily the case. But also there's the other bigger factor, which is the landing page. If your website converts at a higher rate, they'll prefer to promote your stuff. So all the back data about them knowing that this person who searches for how to replace a light bulb and made 2 other searches in the past, they buy it at 50% rate. They try to run your ad that points to your landing page, and it converts at a higher rate than what they were their best landing page that they could send it to on the other guy's stuff that was presumably also using DSA. They now send all that traffic to you instead of them, and whatever money that competitor had to spend basically to figure out that that person works good on their campaigns, you're now getting it all. You see how that works? So this is also why I say on this channel over and over and over again, if you want to make money with PPC, you got to be able to do better than 80% of your people that you're competing against. When you're talking about search ads here, generally speaking, about in terms of the click-through rate on the ad and the conversion rate on your landing page, because that's what Google's trying to promote all the time. Everything they do is about figuring that out for every search and every type of person that goes to Google. For all the reasons I said, of making more money, getting people addicted to Google Ads, and the product itself as a potential solution for finding things that people need. So anyway, there's a lot of different searches that will lead to a purchase that you can't target with a keyword because there's a lot of these long tail keywords. How do I, and there's just so many variants of the keywords, you can't target them all. But even more than that, in certain markets, there's these long tail searches, but also a lot of them lead to a sale. And so in those cases, the dynamic search campaign can use data that you simply can't package up into a static campaign. In other words, and then you're going to use their dynamic ability to be able to pick up where your ad should show and for what exactly. Using, again, a lot of just the data that your competitors built up and that Google's algorithm picked up from them. But also, Google also understands buyers' intent more than we do in this case. There's more products, therefore they can make more ads for, potentially 10,000 plus products that you couldn't set up a campaign for every product for. And there's too many keywords that people search for that you just simply couldn't do their keyword research on all of them. But also, they understand who buys in that market more than you do just simply by looking at the keyword alone, i.e., a lot of what leads to a purchase isn't just the keyword alone, but what that person did before. And also the fact that the keyword is a long string of words, people asking questions that lead to a purchase, and that's where half the purchases come from. You won't have all those keywords covered because they're long sentences. You can't target all those long sentence type keywords. And so respectively, the dynamic search campaign and what it's actually good at, which is to find people who type in long strings of things that, where there's, hundreds of thousands of ways somebody searches for your product or, your product specifically before they buy it. You can't cover all those. And they generally have to have some other activity that's tied to that makes them a lot different than somebody just searching this randomly, but has made it clear that this person is going to be buying soon and that Google has picked up on their own. So I know it's a little bit hard to wrap your head around, but if you're in a market like that where you have a lot of random parts like that, you could potentially find DSA campaigns could do better than the search campaigns, okay? That's one good example. And respectively, if you sell parts that are more expensive, i.e. like over $100, you'll want to consider strongly adding the offline conversion tracking aspect to your e-commerce business and campaigns, because a lot of the bigger purchases that come through, like for instance, the same guy who sold the business lighting, replacement lighting and so forth, the bigger purchases where you have to buy 50 kits, what they would do is they would email or call first, and then they would get a request for quote for 50. And when that person later on they bought through the site, but it wouldn't be right away. And even though the conversion tracking is supposed to pick that person up if they come back, a lot of times another person will put the order through at the company. And so respectively, you'll lose the fact that that purchase came through an ad and on a specific keyword and a specific time of the day and a certain state the user was from and the specific age and so on and so on and so on, that Google has all that data on each person. And so you'll want to do this offline conversion tracking to supplement your cart orders and the people that generally just go through and buy right away with the people that order more but don't buy right away. And basically the more they buy, the longer they generally on average wait till they buy. And so the biggest orders that are the most profitable don't get picked up by the conversion tracking, which right away neuters what you can basically do with that campaign by default. You're going to supplement getting your pixel data, that's your cart success page pixel data, with the data that where you use a program like CallRail to have a recording of every call that comes in. And then when John Smith buys later on, you can actually take the GCL ID code that this CallRail program picks up from the person who calls, and you can feed that code back into Google Ads. So then the same thing occurs for people that go through the contact form and then later on buy. Basically, the contact form, you add what is called a hidden field to the contact form, and that hidden field picks up this GCL ID code, which is basically a serial number tied to every single click that Google has. And that hidden field just simply goes to the URL. You'll notice if you click on an ad after the actual landing page URL you have, there's a string of numbers there. It says GCL ID equals and then a string of numbers. That string of numbers gets picked up by the form if you have a hidden form field on your form. And then when the lead goes through to your email or your CRM, you can have the GCL ID code in there with the rest of your information, so that when that person buys, you can go back to all your leads, find the guy's name, John Smith bought, that let's say once a month you're going to do this offline conversion tracking process that we normally do, once a month upload of our sales to Google. You see that, all these people buy, okay, first person who bought, John Smith. We go through all of our form leads, we find John Smith, okay, we know, okay, this is the form lead it came from, here's the GCL ID code, and then we go to, it's actually in the conversion section of Google Ads, there's a place where you can upload that GCL ID code to Google, and once they have it, then you'll actually see the data show up in your account under the device, and shows you which device the user was on when they made that purchase, and time of the day of the week, age, gender, income level, and so on, ad, so on and so on, keyword. And so that you're working with more actual data. And respectively, the more conversion data you have, the more you're going to make, because Google's going to understand better how to optimize your ads. And this goes for any other campaigns that you were running where there was some manual optimization going on. But respectively, even the DSA campaigns has some manual things that you can adjust using this data as well, by the way, which I would recommend you do. And so anyway, that's the key to getting the best results from the DSA campaign. If you sell something over $100 again, you should try to do that offline conversion tracking. Start capturing the GCL ID when the leads come in once a month. Feed back that data to Google. You can actually set up the data so it flows back into Google automatically. If you have a CRM, there's usually a process to do this with the mainstream CRM, so that once something is marked sold inside the CRM, it'll update Google that information right away. And that, specifically, respectively, if lost my train of thought here. Basically, if the person, this is especially important, if people, when they buy, going back to my previous example where the person requests for a quote and you give it to them, if they buy through the phone by giving your credit card information, this is a lot more valuable because it gets a lot more data back into your account that Google ain't going to be able to see, and just automatically stop doing things that are the most profitable, because certain keywords that drove mainly the bigger orders, Google won't see those orders and then therefore won't do it, and then you cut off 20, 30, 40, 50% of your campaign's potential just by not having that data fed back in. But even if they get the quote and they have to go back to Google to put through their order through the shopping cart. Like I said, a bunch of people will come back way later to do it, and you'll still lose a lot of data that way, but just not as much as if people are able to put their order through the phone. So, but anyway, you get the general idea there. Very, very few different companies we work with where we'll use the DSA. It is rare, even for the e-commerce companies. We're talking about 5% of companies out there can use the DSA campaigns, because you basically need so many products, you can't set up static campaigns for them, and most of the searches are long tail searches where you can't target all the keywords, in which, like, let's say more than 50% of the sales come from these longer, sentence or question type search queries. And apart from that, if you can't get the search campaigns to work, you could try DSA, because with that, just knowing what they're searching for, like I said, may not be enough. You may have to actually know what they did beforehand, which Google has that data. And if you're running DSA, they could use more of that data to your advantage, versus if you're even if you're running enhanced CPC campaigns or target CPA or target Roas campaigns, Google will use that data, but with the DSA, it gives it even more leeway to be able to understand in certain situations what people want to say and hear, versus in other situations what they want to hear. So they can actually use more of their data to help you even more than they could as if you had a static ad. And they could decide where your ad should show up, versus in this case, they can decide where the ad could show up and what the ad needs to say to get the person's attention in that unique type of scenario. If somebody's looking for how to replace a T5 bulb, they might say, replace a T5 bulb here, and they figure that out through running your campaign there, and also running campaigns in the past of other campaigns of your competitors, like I said, and just understand that exact situation, exactly what they want to hear, and so forth. So anyway, that is kind of everything in a nutshell as far as DSA. You may want to try DSA out if you get it for the lead generation, if you have the right data flowing in from the offline leads about the lead quality and which leads are qualified. In the e-commerce space, if you have a ton of items and people are searching for a lot of long tail queries, which you'll know you can go right into your search terms report and see how people are typing things in. And if there's a lot of longer strings, like five word or more words in what they type in, basically, you may actually get DSA to help you out quite a bit. Or just when the search campaigns just aren't working, try DSA. It might actually work better for you. Just make sure your pixel data is working on your shopping cart, and if you want to give yourself a good chance of this working, if you're selling something for over $100, get that revenue data flowing into your account as well, so Google can see where the bigger orders are coming from as well. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed. I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. And so if you want to learn a ton of money, or learn a ton about how to make money with PPC, I suggest you subscribe to this channel, because I have a lot of good information stuff that we're testing here on our clients' campaigns at Guarantee PPC, which I share to you on this channel, which can save you a lot of time and money of testing things out on your own. Just give you the working stuff here on this channel to use. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you would give it a thumbs up as well, so I can get the algorithm to get this video out a little bit more to people that, like you, would like to see it. I would really appreciate it if you would do that. I also have a Guaranteed PPC blog, guaranteeppc.com/blog, which has step-by-step information on how I build campaigns for our clients here, stuff that we actively use to guarantee our clients' results here. If you want to see things on a more step-by-step basis, you can find information there that might also be able to help you with your PPC journey as well. If you have any questions about anything that I shared here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel. So it doesn't matter what you ask, I'll be there to answer your question the best I can. And with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. I appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed the video, like I said. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.